It's wonderful. It's marvelous. It is a 1-0 win at the very, 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 very death against Nottingham Forest. We have Timuchin and we have Anand, obviously the number one fan of Darwin Nunez. Probably even if you get higher than number one, the only fan that's like below Darwin Nunez in the Darwin Nunez fan stakes. But that was a testy game and one we had to win. And it wasn't the best one, but we'll give the first word to Anand because he is the hero, and we do have the bit.
Everyone is the hero.
we do have the banter around him. But as we say consistently, we always want him to do well, and he did that today. And it was the super sub of all super subs, wasn't it, Anand?
Absolutely, and it's good to see that when Darwin came on, the game changed. Everything changed in our attack, in our attitude, in everything we were doing. We showed more hunger. We showed more. We're not just going to settle for the 0-0. And I'll give full credit to that midfield. That ball from McAllister, you do not see a perfect ball like that in the 99th minute when really some people may say our season was on the line, right? You don't want to go behind City in points at this point and then play him next week and have to win that game. Now we can go out in that game next week and not going to say be okay with dropping points, but the winning isn't really going to kill you, or the losing isn't going to kill you. So listen, I can't even speak because when that ball went in, all I can think about is Darwin, So I'm over the moon, man. What a game. What a game.
And Timuchin, in terms of, the way the game went, and Nuno had them set up really well. They were really organized, and we didn't have the guile to break them down for nearly 100 minutes of the game, 90, whatever it was. But the Chaos Agent does exactly what he says on the tin, as the old British commercial goes. He literally changed the game for the defenders, the Forest defenders, because they didn't know what to do. I mean, it's different with Diaz, because Diaz doesn't know what to do, but at least with Darwin, he knows what he's trying to do. And everybody understands that he's going to create those spaces for us. It was a different prospect once he came on in terms of physicality and in terms of unpredictability. And that's what allowed, I think, do you agree, McAllister to actually use his creativity in that last moment? Because before that, there was nothing for him.
No, right? Like only a couple of times, and he put some great balls, like for a couple of give and goes. One to, I think, Diaz. Can't remember who the first one was to, but the second one, one was to Gakpo. I know that the one that he headed towards the middle for some odd reason. But I think one thing that once Nunez comes in, and let's not forget that Endo comes in at the same time. So that also helps that midfield. And yeah, you knew that once we threw another threat, this is one of the few games where normally a game starts and I get more and more stressed as the minutes go. Because I'm like, we got to score. We got to get the 3 points. This was one of those games where I was like, I'm okay with this going like this until like 60 or so. Because you knew once we put in all our cards that, we were going to give them a better game. But, I mean, you got to give credit to that back line too, Konate and Van Dijk. They did make a lot of crucial stops as well as Kelleher. So, huge win, man. And I called it when the corner kick happened. You can ask the wifey. I told Angie, I'm like, this is a title winning corner kick right here if this ends up being a goal. And the dogs are in shock because we only got one goal. Stitch knows the rules of the game. So he was like, wait, this counted as 5? What the fuck is going on? Kind of a thing. But it does count as 5, man. That was a huge goal in the season.
Gally, Endo coming in did kind of solidify the midfield, but that is not to say that Gomez did a particularly bad job. It's just that Endo offers a little bit more on the ball. That infusion of, let's say, forward momentum really did help us because we didn't have a shot, I don't think, on target in the first half. And as comfortable as Timuchin might be getting to the 60th minute, not winning the game, not having any shots on target, for me, is a bit worrying. What did you think about that?
Yeah, I wasn't particularly impressed with the entire side in the first half. I thought a few players played really well. I thought McAllister was great all match long. I thought Gomez is doing a job that isn't his job, so I'm not going to sit here and rip him. He had a few moments and bad touches, and he had a few balls that were a little loose passes, and clearly he was gassed at the end. Because he almost gave up, he almost conceded or gave up big opportunities to concede goals. There was that one time that Van Dijk snuffed it out for him in the second half and that cutout. And then there's also that huge miss by Morgan Gibbs White, who's probably their most talented all-around player. So I think we were actually lucky not to concede. So the not getting shots on target worried me. I'll say this about Darwin. People will rave about the goal. You don't have to lean in. I'm a Darwin supporter, Anand. You might not watch enough of the evening shows. I'm usually the one that was eating it for a while. But I think the thing about Darwin, what I noticed is we all joke about Diaz's unpredictability, like Diaz doesn't even know where he's going. But I think as chaotic as Nunez is, Diaz got better when Nunez got on the pitch and was playing through the center because his runs gave room. He naturally drifts. You know, he makes runs trying to run off the defender to the left, giving Diaz space to come inside and cut in on his right. And I just think it just changed the dynamics of everything. You know, I think Gakpo had a stinker. It's Kazi's birthday, so we'll be respectful of his opinion that he played better when he got moved out to the right. I feel like that's one of those, he looked better because he was so poor and invisible playing through the center. I still think he needs to get confident. I hope he has a big match on Thursday. But I thought Endo was really critical to letting McAllister go forward even more. Because at times McAllister looked like he was playing alongside Gomez in the first half. And in the second half, I felt like he was really the attacking player. And I think we're starting to see our best midfield with Endo, Szoboszlai, and McAllister, especially right now with what we have on offer with Jones injured and Gravenberch, you know, really kind of second choice, second rate.
Szoboszlai offered something a lot different in that midfield, and he looked like a guy who's been missing games. And I don't mean missing, I mean he wanted to get on the field this whole time, and he was looking to make up for lost time. But Bobby Clark, as well as he did and as good as he is, maybe showed some inexperience, I think, in terms of creativity that Szoboszlai gave us when he came on the field. It is kind of heartening, isn't it, that we can, as much as we bemoan the injury list, we can slot players in here and there to fill the gaps, and they may not be the same as the first team, but they do give us a performance, don't they, for the most part?
Yeah, and it's, you know, when Sobo was in and Endo was in, that gave us stability in the second half, and now we were comfortable go forward and try to go ahead and get it. But it's good to see that we've got those kids that are willing to come in and take those spots. Like I talked in the Friday morning show, start the game with the kids, and whatever happens next, we've got the adults that can come in and take care of business. The stability that I felt when Szoboszlai was in, when Endo came on, with McAllister, and I've been talking to, and I know so has Gally, you know, for the whole season, that's the midfield three that I want to see play together, because Endo will give comfort to McAllister to play his box-to-box role. He'll give Szoboszlai that freedom to get creative, and we saw a glimpse of that today, and I hope that is how we start at, you know, when we face City, because I think we just saw what I believe is our best midfield. And speaking of the best and all that, I want to wish Kazi a happy birthday, and my present was a Darwin Nunez 99-minute goal, you know, to give him.
I like it. Onan takes credit for Nunez now.
I don't know who
I'm just happy.
is. I just know Nunez, and that 99-minute goal was a gift for Kazi.
I'm just happy that Kazi didn't show up for the post-match show, and that he's getting off to Vegas or going out golfing or doing whatever he does on the weekends or in the mornings, seeing that it's only 9:30 where he is. But I'm just happy he didn't show up so we don't have to sing him happy birthday, because I didn't even want to do the once for the one goal we got. I almost thought they were cursing us and they just didn't want to hear our voices sing a song. And therefore, that was the reason we were going to go on the 0-0 and not get any goals today. But what a shot, what a goal, and great celebration. Definitely really happy for the side. They were excited, you could tell.
I was going to sing Kazi happy birthday in Spanish with my Uruguayan accent, but he didn't show up. So,
Timuchin, so Z made the point that Dan's made a big difference, but he maybe made a big difference in an unintentional way, because we really needed that 8 minutes or whatever it was of injury time from that bang that he gave the goalkeeper. But really, we probably needed to do some sort of mental loosener for him, because he was having a relatively decent game in terms of marshalling his defense, because they were so organized and the things he had to deal with, he dealt with. And maybe, you know, he was a tiny bit concussed or something. But we crucially we needed that 8 minutes, didn't we? And it's not good for any of our healths. For it to
No,
go
it
that long
definitely
before
is
we
not.
stop.
But you did need that. But I agree. I think Dan's was really good coming in. It was one more person to. It just felt like the first half, you know, like Gally was talking about earlier. It just felt like we didn't make him uncomfortable enough. And you could tell, and that's why I was like almost like, okay, I'm okay with waiting till 45, 60, because you could already tell that if you had one or two more Diaz-like characters who are actually challenging people with their pace, movements, dribbling, and stuff like that, it was going to make a difference. And I think that's one thing that Diaz actually brings. I really like his build-up play as well. I mean, where he picks up the ball in the center of the opposition, and then he can kind of turn and face. And he's Nunez like in that sense, where he's scary when he faces you with the ball. And that opened a lot of things on the wings, like he could play it to like Costas and stuff like that. But yeah, I thought he did have an impact. But yeah, we did need every single minute out of that. But you knew, man, you just knew that once the reinforcements came in, this was going to be our game. And I really think if we are able to start with this 11, if we didn't have the injuries, this ends up being an easier win. We were able to open up. I know they were very disciplined and they defended well, but the moment we started throwing more threats in there, you could kind of tell why they are where they are and why they concede so many goals.
Gali, they did cause us some issues, though. Let's not be too ignorant of that fact. We played within ourselves a bit too much for most of the game, and they did have some good breakaways. But our defense marshaled most of the breakaways, and I don't think Kelleher had a hard shot to save. The shots at him were pretty much at him. But is it different, let's say, how if we had Kwanzaa? Should we be really grateful that we had the most senior centre-back pair we had out there today?
So I think it's a funny, weird one because they did have some opportunities. We made a few mistakes. I mentioned the Gomez one late, and there were a couple other ones earlier as well. One where I remember Robertson just mistiming a tackle and them just kind of ghosting past him and just kind of flowing right down the right. But one, Konate was great and brilliant throughout the match, I thought. And I thought Virgil is just really, like, I know the announcers. I was watching the goal rush so I could get the European feed. And it was actually funny. The announcer, when he heads the ball back to Kelleher, he's like, that is Van Dijk at his prime. Like, you know, every defender is taught there to head that back out for a corner, you know, and he just nods it with a defender running down on him to his backup keeper, like just nonchalant. And that's that like semi-arrogant, so classy, like Virgil is at his top form. And I thought Bradley was very good defensively in the first half outside of the booking. He picks up a rash booking. And you love the fire, but it's also like the early Andy Robertson where you're like, kid, you got to play 80 minutes. We need you every game. So I thought the defense did well. I think Kelleher was, you know, I don't know if the guy was offsides or not, but that was a fine save on the breakaway where he had, and that's still 0-0 in the first half. And let me tell you, that match is completely different with the people we had on the pitch if we go down 1-0 anywhere in the first half. So I think Kelleher actually, you know, with the bad news this morning about Allison, I think Kelleher has genuinely stepped up in the last couple matches and performances. And I think that's huge. We're going to need him.
One thing about Van Dijk, by the way, I'm sorry, is I know, you know, to the untrained eye, it looks like Forrest poor passing, but that's great defensive placement where he is there. Every time that ball is crossed, every time he's there because he's covering the spaces. He knows where exactly to be. I think, you know, when you look, you're like, I mean, he's just clearing it, but he was there for every crucial, anytime they went down that wing, and they had a lot of opportunities to be able to whip that ball in where they had numbers, and Van Dijk was there every single time to clear it. And that's just, yeah, I mean, he's definitely back to his best. So long may it continue.
So, Tamucha, what I want to ask you then is, let's put ourselves, both of you actually, but let's put all three of us in Pep Guardiola and the Manchester City team's place as they're mentally preparing for the Manchester derby tomorrow. And they're watching this game. I'm sure they're watching this game and they want to see what's happening. And it's getting into the 107th minute. And they're going, you know what? This is a good dropped 2 points for Liverpool. You know, we do our job tomorrow. Oh, crap, they've scored. I mean, how disheartening must it be if you're a Man City fan, or a Man City player rather, or Pep Guardiola, to see an absolutely injury-ravaged side still manage to pull it out of the bag at the last minute.
I think that's the biggest part of it. The fact that we got the 3 points despite who's out there, right? Because I mean, it's the same thing that they did in was that the Newcastle game? With the Bob scoring in the very, very like last breath kind of thing. I mean, we were like, oh, you got to be shitting me. I think it's very similar to that, but I think this almost doubles it because when you look at the lineups, I think have a lot more hope going into this game that Liverpool might lose something. A place they haven't won before with a lot of backups, kids in the lineup. I mean, we're at the point where we're counting, you know, Bradley as a regular starter now, not even as a kid, because he's been out there for a while now. Whereas, you know, we are missing one of the, you know, and that's one thing, by the way, I give Trent a lot of shit, but that's one thing that you miss is they do allow Bradley to look up with the ball. You know, they would not be able to do that with Trent. So that would create more space behind because they have to push up to him and stuff. But yeah, going back to it, I don't know if a lot of the experienced City players do a lot of scoreboard watching. I'm sure they watch it and hope for the thing. I don't know if it affects them morale-wise, but going back to what Anand was saying in the beginning, it's very crucial to go into this game at Anfield being content with a draw, not losing anything with a draw. Whereas before, I think now you have to attack more, you have to open up yourself more, you have to expose yourself more. You can do the stop first and hit him on the counter, because they can be hit on the counter. They can be hit on the counter that we've seen them. That's why actually we are doing the live watch along tomorrow for the Manchester derby. And I do have some hope because they are susceptible on the counter.
Gali Sir Z said it's more disheartening for Arsenal. Do you agree with that?
No. And I don't know that it's more disheartening. I think it's disheartening for both of them because I think all three teams genuinely believe that they have the best side in the country and can win. I think Miguel Arteta actually believes Arsenal can win the title this year. And I think he's managing that way, as showing how as aggressive as he's being in every game, going for victories, going for goals, scoring them in droves lately. I think Arsenal really believe in themselves. I personally don't believe in them. And I think they'll come up short again, mainly because I think they have to formulate and play through the Champions League. And I think they're not ready for both. And I think they will go far in the Champions League. So that being said, I think it's big for both. I think Arsenal knows they play a team that would be in the mid-table of the championship if they were in the championship in Sheffield United on Monday. So I don't think they worry at all. I think City goes in saying we have to play our crosstown rivals, teams that sometimes, you know, these matches sometimes go in weird directions. And if United gets a goal early, if one of their kids, either Garnacho or Manu or somebody makes a big play and they get an early goal and get into it, I think they could I think City could be had for dropping points tomorrow. And who would have ever thought, you know, what a spin of moments, right? We were all worried at 0-0 that we got to go play City in a must-win next week at Anfield. And it might be flip-flop where we're coming in and they might be playing us in a must-win, having to beat us at Anfield, with us knowing a draw is good. And it's almost like those old Champions League matches where we played with house money and we just ran at them for, 20, 30 minutes rapid at the beginning of a match. So this could really make a big swing. Their game tomorrow is as big as our game was today, in my opinion, in the title race.
You guys think, though, I mean, I agree with Serzi in this sense. I expect City to be more mentally tough than Arsenal because of like what they have. So I can see them affecting more than maybe City, because City has so many people in there that knows that it's not over till it's over, kind of an ordeal. Whereas Arsenal, I can see already saying like, oh my God, here we go again. There are a lot more players that might get that feeling.
I'm thinking in terms of like City, but Arsenal, just from what Gali was saying, just the image that came into my head is Arsenal are Brendan Rodgers 13-14 Liverpool, in the sense that there's almost an abandonment about what they're doing. They know they have to just go for it.
Yeah.
And they're going to get some results, and they're going to have some exciting, high-scoring games. But as it gets closer, as the clock ticks down on the season and the fatigue is setting in, that's when they might have their Crystal Palace kind of a game. And also the idea that, like, I think that it might, relative to City, hit Arsenal a lot more than it hits City. I just get the feeling for Arteta, he's not mature enough to navigate this the way Klopp and Pep Guardiola are. So maybe they're just going for it because they don't have any other option.
I can see that. Like I said, I just feel like they're a team that can panic a lot easier than I would rather go. Even though Arsenal seem to be more in form and everything, I would rather go toe to toe with Arsenal in a title chase as opposed to City, just because of the experience factor.
So here's the question now for us. We talk about the mentality monsters, and we talk about the greatness of the kids. But Gali, we really need the first teamers back as quickly as possible, don't we?
Yeah. I mean, if Szoboszlai, Endo, and Nunez are all fit enough to come off the bench, you assume they're fit enough to start. Maybe they don't all start against Prague or against Sparta on Thursday in the Europa League, but I'd assume they're all in the starting lineup against City next weekend. So really, we're just talking about getting Mo back, right? Let's be honest. We have Mo and Trent, and we're not worried about Bradley right now. And we have Gomez as a really good backup if we have to use someone. So to me, let's be honest, we need our best player back so everything feels more comfortable. And I think if you get me Mo back for City, and you get the midfield of McAllister, Szoboszlai, and Endo with Mo, Nunez, and Diaz, Robertson, Konate. I mean, you're just missing Kelleher and Trent, and I think Bradley is outplaying Trent over the last month and a half anyway. So I feel good about that. What I question is, come Thursday, how tempted is Klopp to go get a result on the first side of this, two-legged tie and try to kind of put this thing to bed? Does he play Nunez from the start? Does he just get Gakpo out there? I think Diaz and Elliott probably need rest, but Elliott's not going to start against City. So maybe that's why he got subbed off today and he was pouting so much, because he's going to start again. Like, I think it's interesting to see what Klopp does at the back, especially against Prague or, against Sparta on Thursday, because City is a huge match, and it's just, it's Thursday, Sunday. And I just think that's such a massive, massive match.
Timuchin, to wrap it up on a nice positive note, other than the result itself, when Origi got subbed off, he was literally standing applause from the entire stadium. It's always a good thing to see, but it's a very rare thing to see. But
yes,
he's one of the players that probably, even if he wasn't the best player, he does seem to put in the work, the shift for all the teams he plays for. But that was a nice thing to see, wasn't it? That he got the appreciation not just from his own fans, but from the fans he left.
Yeah, it's hard to root against Origi, right? So it just makes it was a difficult watch, really, watching him like go against us. And actually, he did pretty good. I was like, God damn it, how come we weren't this physical before? Because he had a couple of plays where I was like, damn it, where was this? But yeah, I mean, that
he's added
the regular Divock stuff.
He's added some weight since he left, so he's got a little bit more. Actually, he's got a little more size to him.
It's a little bit colder in Nottingham. I think that's what it is.
Or maybe he's wearing one of those things that makes your gut go away. I don't know, but the beginning of the season photo with his gut seems to be gone. But yeah, I mean, like I say, he's such a cult figure, and he's like very hard to root against. But so I was actually happy to see him go out, even though I wasn't very happy with the substitution coming in. I was like, now we're in like a world of hurt. But yeah, man, I mean, to be able to get 3 points out of this was huge. And like we said before we started, without injuries, like Gali was saying before we got started. And I think that's like the biggest part. And you were able to get some minutes in these guys. In some ways, I feel like the game being Thursday helps us a bit, where I think we still like start with like a very light lineup and see what the kids do, or see whoever is out there does what they do. But then you're able to give all these guys maybe 15, 20 minutes, including Mo, hopefully, so that they don't start cold against City and they've already have some like game minutes and game speed.
Okay, so I think that probably wraps up this one. I think we were all probably nervously and emotionally exhausted after that game, and we have another one tomorrow to do from the ASTV, American Scouser TV schedule. The watch along Manchester City against Manchester United, when we're all going to sully ourselves, I'm sure, dirty and blacken our souls, and support Manchester United for 90 minutes. A little bit, not too much.
See, I think it's a perfect game. It's a win-win, because if City
it is a win-win,
running away with it, then we can just laugh at United. So you can't lose in this game.
Yeah, that's the only way I'm able to look into the mirror thinking about tomorrow.
Yeah, the truth is, you either watch City and marvel, right, and laugh at United and watch Goldbridge just lose his mind, right,
Yep.
or you let United get a good result, maybe even like a monumental, historical for them at this moment result, where they start pounding their chests about their new sporting methodology and their new 0.25% owners, and they start expanding on why Ten Hag is the man and why they're back. And that just makes the next match against, Wolves that they lose at Old Trafford that much easier to just be like, nah, you're still United again. The new United. You are the new United.
The old United.
More corners than a dodecahedron. So just remains to say, make sure you're liking and subscribing on the YouTube and on the Facebook and on the Twitter and the Instagram. And keep an eye out for tomorrow for our watch along. It should be fun. They always are. And we'll just spend the entire time laughing one way or the other. There's no result that doesn't favor us as Liverpool fans. And then also next week, our content as usual, Monday podcast, where there will be, I'm sure, a more tactical incision into the game today if one is needed. And the morning coffees Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and the technological useless guys on Thursday. That's us for the rest of it. But just right to say, Tamuchin, enjoy your weekend. Give those dogs some more snacks. Gali, enjoy your weekend. And everybody else who's commented and watched us, have a good weekend. Enjoy it. And here comes the funky music.